You're watching Daily News Live, presented by Citi.
Hello and welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Chris Williamson, and what do you know? Today, it's all about Robinson Cano possibly joining the Mets. How likely will this deal get done? And on the Giants side, there's been some tension between Eli Manning and Odell Beckham Jr. this year. So can the two coexist for another season should Manning return? Joining me to talk about it is Mark Malusis, John Harper, and Maria Marino. Let's start with the Mets, though. Brodie Van Wagenen could be making his first big splash in the offseason soon. It's been rumored all week, but now it's getting closer. Our very own John Harper reported that Cano will waive his no-trade clause should the Mets decide to get him and pitcher Edwin Diaz in a trade from the Mariners. So, John, what chances do you think it is that this deal gets done?
Well, first, let me say, Chris, did you sneak in a little John Sterling into that intro?
Well done.
Nice job.
Flair.
I tell you, there is a lot going on here, a lot of momentum. Usually when it gets this far down the road, and the fact that the Mariners really don't have many other places to turn. I don't think the Yankees are doing this. I don't know if Cano would go anywhere but New York to get out of to waive his no trade. And I did speak to someone who talked to him this week and said he definitely wants to come back to New York. So there's just a lot working in the Mets' favor. But how desperate are the Mariners? That's the bottom line. How much are the Mets have to give up? How much salary they're going to absorb? There's still a lot of things in play, but I think ultimately this deal does get done, yeah.
Really? Okay, so what do you think they should give up, Moose?
Well, I mean, listen, I don't know if I'm giving up the first-round pick from last year. I got to be honest with you.
People love Kelenic.
No, I understand they do, and rightfully so. I mean, and I think it's a matter of what you give to get. I'd rather assume more of Cano's contract and give up less to the Seattle Mariners than have Seattle assume more of Cano's contract and give up more to Seattle and that kind of a deal. But there's so many different variations to the trade. If you want to look at the key component of the deal and say, is Robinson Cano going to end up being a Met? I think eventually, yes, he ends up being a Met. Now, what are the other parameters to that deal? Is it Diaz that's part of it?
Exactly what the Mets, right?
I would imagine. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think you're killing two birds with one stone, because if you were able to have them assume, say, 10 of the $24 million he's owed per year, and you're paying him $14 million. Then you have Diaz. You don't have to dip into the free agent mark for a reliever, so you're not spending money there. You get him on the cheap. He had 57 saves and 61 opportunities last year for Seattle. I think all of a sudden you are a better baseball team, but I also want to know exactly the parameters of what the Mets are giving up in that kind of a deal. But eventually, I think there's too much here to believe that a deal doesn't get done eventually.
It is hard to know the parameters moving forward. I just feel like I'm always in favor of the deal that gets you younger and gets you future assets. Cano obviously doesn't get you younger. Diaz, he's a pretty young pitcher, and he's one of the best closers out there, so that's great. I'm hesitant about giving up prospects, especially when the narrative all last season was that this farm system for the Mets wasn't very deep in terms of prospects. You talk about somebody like Jeff McNeil possibly being involved in this deal. That gives me pause as well, because I think he showed a major bright spot for the Mets last season. So I'm overall uncertain about this, but agree.
You don't want him, do you?
Well, no, it's just I just feel it makes me question, is this a deal better suited for a team that is more likely to contend? And if you're telling me that this deal would make the Mets have a great chance at winning the division, then okay, I'm on board.
I think that's the bottom line here. Van Wagenen has said we want to win next year. I think this deal does move them closer to that, because you're getting a 24-year-old closer who was lights out. He's got that kind of stuff. And I think Cano will give you a couple good years at second base. Then you might, figure out what he's going to do. But I agree. You can't give up too much here, because the Mariners are in a desperate spot. You got to push them as far as they'll be pushed. I like McNeil too, and I wouldn't give up the kid Kelenic either. I think you can get it done. But I think you can get it done without giving up too much.
Well, I get it, but I mean, if you're not going to give up McNeil, you're not going to give up Kelenic, what are you going to give up? I mean, you're going to just give up Dunn? That's going to be it?
Maybe Jimenez, the shortstop.
Okay, but I mean, the Mets are looking to try and win. Let's not look 3-4 years down the line. They made it be known that Noah Syndergaard's available via trade, so they're trying to get as much as they possibly can get for him. You look at it, they're going to pair, and they're going to look at Jacob deGrom as being the Cy Young Award winner. They're going to pay him this offseason. And Brodie Van Wagenen stepped into to this opportunity to try and win in 2019, bury 2018, bury what has been a disastrous year and a disastrous couple seasons for this Met organization, and try and get themselves back to relevancy next year. Robbie Cano, I don't care what he is at 39, 40, 41. Next year, Robbie Cano will hit, and Diaz will be a lights-out closer for this organization.
So you think he'll be an upgrade at second base?
Oh, no doubt, yes. I mean, Robbie Cano would be enamored with being back in New York. I'd be a little concerned. He does enjoy the nightlife, which bothered the Yankees when he was here, but I'd be a little concerned about that. But I do think he'd appreciate going from the Northwest and coming back east.
All right, it should be very interesting to see how everything plays out. Now, on to the Giants. After another tough loss and Eli Manning missing Odell Beckham Jr. on multiple plays, we've got to wonder about their chemistry together moving forward. Beckham said in October he wasn't sure if the Giants had an issue at QB and pointed out that he doesn't feel like he's getting chances to make deep catches down the field. Last week, Manning found Beckham 5 times and only 9 targets, which is surprisingly low because the Eagles brought out a decimated secondary. Here's SNY NFL insider Ralph Facciano for more on Eli and OBJ's relationship.
The idea of Eli Manning coming back for another season as the Giants' starting quarterback, as SNY reported on Wednesday was a possibility, can't possibly sit well with Odell Beckham, whose lack of support for the quarterback has been very obvious most of this season. It was even kind of obvious again on Thursday when I asked him about the last 3 weeks, where Eli Manning's passer rating has been 115 and the Giants' offense has averaged 29 points. I asked him if that was a sign of what he and Eli Manning are able to accomplish together, and his answer was an unenthusiastic, "I don't know." Now listen, there have been a lot of diva receivers and quarterbacks they didn't like who have survived and even thrived over the years. In fact, when I asked one NFL source on Thursday what the key was to an arranged marriage like that, he said winning. If they win, they'll end up liking each other. With the Giants, Ralph Facciano, SNY.
You know, that's not something that you want to hear from a wide receiver when he asks about how the production is going with his QB. He says, I don't know. Do you guys, Maria, I'll start with you. Do you think Eli and OBJ can coexist together? Should Manning return next year?
Well, absolutely they can coexist if that's what they have to do. They've done it up to this point. The problem is that if Eli's the quarterback again next year, you have to feel like the season is going to go much of the same way that it went this year. And unfortunately, that means sort of wasting another year of Odell Beckham's prime. You have to hope that they can continue to fortify the roster more, but they really are in somewhat of a rebuild mode right now. It's just tough. It's a really tough situation the Giants put themselves in. Let me just say, we've been saying it all season long, but the massive miscalculation they had in this offseason, there's no answer. There's just no answer.
Well, I mean, I think you look at the starting, first and foremost, I mean, he's been targeted 115 times this year. He's had 74 catches. And the idea that you're going to placate Odell Beckham Jr. here is utterly comical. So you look at the Giants organization, and now they're in a scenario here where you look at the uptick of the offense, and you can look at the opponents that they faced and say, okay, it's the 49ers and the Buccaneers, and then it's the Philadelphia Eagles, and say they're not really all that good defensively, and that's fair. Downfield throwing, you have to have the offensive line to be able to protect and hold up. What has been great when Eli Manning has been great at quarterback, especially in the regular season when the Giants have gone on runs, he's had a ground game to lean on. They've been able to establish the run. They've tried to establish the run a little bit more, and Pat Shurmur's offense is not Kevin Gilbride's offense. So you want to say you want to get down to a downfield throwing game, and I think that's a great asset to Eli as a quarterback because I think he throws a beautiful downfield football. However, that is not what Shurmur can do with this offensive line up front, Chris. You can't hold up. They can't hold up in order to allow a pass play to develop 40, 50 yards down the field. That's the issue you have at hand. So can they coexist? Yeah, they have to coexist because you know what? They are being paid to coexist. Right. And the Giants, if they believe that Eli Manning is the best place or is the best position for them to win next year and they're the only option at quarterback, Odell Beckham Jr.'s got no other choice. He just signed a $95 million deal a couple months ago.
Right.
Yeah, but he's going to be heard from in that case. He already did the interview at ESPN where he took not so veiled shots at Eli. I think we're going to get more of that next year. How much of that is going to be a divisive force? Shurmur, how we handle it. There's a lot of questions there. I mean, I think the Giants have to find a way to move on from Eli, not because of Odell Beckham. Well, partly because of him, because there have been times Eli doesn't get the ball to him when he's down the field, at least on time. So I know he's thrown to him the other day he threw him to him once too many times. That interception against the Eagles was a horrible decision. But I just think it's not about Odell. It's about making the right decision for the Giants.
But also, I think with Odell, it's not even necessarily about Eli Manning. I think Odell just wants to win, period. Like, that's the thing with Odell is he makes comments that are he goes a little bit too far. But at the same time, he's just upset because he wants to win, and that's how he manifests it.
Yeah, and he's speaking the truth, and people criticize him for it. And
well, yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, you can't throw your coach under the bus the way you did after the Eagle game. You just can't. I mean, that is not leadership. That is, you can't be doing that, Chris. You just can't be doing it.
But sometimes the coaches throw their players under the bus.
When has Pat Shurmur done that this year?
No. Pat Shurmur doesn't.
Some inadvertent shots.
No, I mean, come on. I mean, if you look at Pat Shurmur, he defended Eric Flowers at the start of the year. He defended his right side of his offensive line.
He defended his decision as a player.
No, hold on a second. He defended Flowers and he defended the right guard. Both of those guys are no longer with the team. One got cut, the other one's in Jacksonville.
You don't want Eli back, do you?
No, well, listen, if you have a scenario here, I'll tell you this. Odell Beckham Jr. better be careful because if he thinks it's going to get better with Alex Tanney or Kyle Lauletta throwing the football to him, I mean, God bless.
My man Nick Foles is coming in.
Listen, Nick Foles, you better be happy you won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. Ask Jeff Fisher and the Rams about Nick Foles.
All right, a lot to digest for the New York Giants. Up next on DNL, the Mets GM Brodie Van Wagenen wants to win in 2019, so we'll bring in an aging Robinson Cano to the Mets be a step towards that. We'll have the latest with our MLB insider, Andy Martino, right here when DNL returns.
Phew. Yeah, baby. Now we're talking.
These new handcrafted Dunkin' espresso drinks are really good.
I know.
Last time I was this surprised when I found out Gary's 48 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, clients are coming in. Tuck in your shirt.
Just do it.
New handcrafted medium cappuccinos and lattes for $2 from 2 to 6 p.m.
You okay there, Kurt?
We're about to move.
Karate helps relieve some of the house buying stress.
At least you don't have to worry about homeowners insurance. Call Geico.
Geico? Helps with homeowners insurance?
Been doing it for years.
I'm calling Geico right now.
Good idea.
Get to know Geico and see how easy homeowners and renters insurance can be.
Get to Joseph A. Bank for up to 70% off specials store-wide. Like Reserve and Signature Gold suits, now just $2.99. All 1905 and executive dress shirts, 2 for $59. Plus buy one, get one free on most everything in store. From stitch to store, that's the Bank way.
Get in the game at the Harlem Globetrotters Live. On a night filled with shooting stars, the one who shines brightest could be you.
Play New York and New Jersey this holiday season, December 27th through the 31st. Get tickets at harlemglobetrotters.com/NYC.
The Daily News, sports coverage for New York fans at nydailynews.com. All things New York sports, all on one site with easy access to up-to-the-minute news on all of your favorite New York area teams, only on SNY.TV. Tonight, the crew takes a look at Josh McCown's performance against the Patriots. Plus, a preview of the Jets' upcoming matchup with Marcus Mariota and the Titans on Jets Game Plan, presented by Centenary University. Tonight at 6:30, only on SNY.
For more on Robinson Cano, it's time now to welcome in SNY MLB insider Andy Martino. Andy, what's the latest on a possible Robinson Cano trade to the Mets?
Yeah, the Mariners and the Mets, Chris, are pretty far down the road on this. This very serious situation, serious talks, deep in, all those kinds of phrases that you might want to use. Now, none of those phrases, of course, are done deal, imminent, close to being done. We're not there yet, but clearly, as we've known for several days, the Mets have a strong interest in Robinson Cano and the closer Edwin Diaz, and they and the Mariners are trying to work out ways to make this happen. Various packages have been discussed. Top Mets prospects have been in some of those. Guys like Jay Bruce or Anthony Swarzak have been another permutation so the Mets can shed dollars, pay down that Cano contract. So there's a lot of discussions being had, but for sure this is something to keep an eye on, and there's a lot of momentum toward Robinson Cano becoming a Met.
So you say there's a lot of momentum for this to happen. How would a Cano deal, if it gets done, impact the Mets moving Noah Syndergaard?
It's a great question, and in some sense I think that these two are separate in that Brodie Van Wagenen has been considering moving Syndergaard for weeks. He's talking to teams about what you can get. As far as we've been able to tell, that really appealing offer has not come yet. He was really engaged with the Padres, and the Padres didn't step up with their top prospects. So I would think, and this is partly my opinion, but I would think that if you get Cano and Diaz and you're really all in on 2019, you can keep Syndergaard. You have control over him for 3 years, so there'll always be another opportunity to move him, still with several years of control, whether it's at the trade deadline if this season doesn't work out, or revisit it next winter. So Syndergaard's very much still on the block. You'd have to like the way the team looks with Syndergaard and Cano and Diaz next year.
And now the Mets must decide by Friday whether to tender a contract to Travis d'Arnaud or not. What's the latest on the Mets catching position situation?
I don't think they made any final decision on d'Arnaud yet. If I had to guess, I'd probably say that his days with the Mets are numbered. They're looking around for catching, of course. They've been in talks with the Cleveland Indians on Yan Gomes, who's one of the better offensive catchers in the game. Problem with catching is there isn't a lot of it. Really a dearth right now of good offensive big league catchers. So, it's all well and good to move on from Travis d'Arnaud. You got to make sure you can find a replacement and that they're confident that they will find an upgrade. So those are the things that they're weighing in advance of that non-tender deadline tomorrow. And we'll know what they do with d'Arnaud tomorrow. But catching, it's not – you don't have a great chance of upgrading at that position no matter what team you are at this point.
And moving to the Yankees, Patrick Corbin was set to meet with them today. What's the latest on Corbin? Were they whining and dining him like the Phillies were?
I don't know that they were whining and dining him. The Phillies really put on a full-court press, was my understanding. And the Yankees met with him. They like him, and Corbin likes the Yankees. I get the feeling that the Phillies are going to be really aggressive on Corbin. And the Yankees, while they might sign him, also like the idea, I'm told, of Jay Happ at a shorter term. Let's say you have to choose between Patrick Corbin at 6 years and Jay Happ at 2-3 years. Now, look, we all know that Corbin has better stuff. He's younger, more of an ace-type guy, but all Jay Happ does is win, and he's not going to take that as big of a commitment. So now that the Yankees already have an ace-type guy in James Paxton and, of course, in Luis Severino, they're definitely still thinking about Happ as an alternative to Corbin. So there's nothing close on the Corbin front, even though he met with him today, and the Yankees are very much still weighing that alternative in Jay Happ.
The man, the myth, the legend, Andy Martino, thank you so much for joining us. All right, up next on DNL, Mets fans have been thirsty for the team to make a big move in the offseason. The Cano and Diaz trade certainly would be that, but is it worth it to get those guys? Our panelists will discuss that just when we come back.
Were you hurt at work? Get the workers' compensation payments you deserve. Did you suffer hearing loss at work, or do you have a third-party injury claim? And what about Social Security disability? Get the experienced legal representation you deserve. There's so much at stake. Call 1-800-222-WISH today. For over 80 years, Pasternak, Tilker, Ziegler, Walsh, Stanton, and Romano have defended the rights of hard-working New Yorkers. Call 1-800-222-WISH.
New York Mets baseball. Swung on and missed strike three.
Get your 2019 Mets ticket plan. Be here for all the biggest games. Choose from full season, half season, or 20-game plans. For a limited time, receive an authentic or replica Mets jersey with your purchase. Visit Mets.com/ticket plans or call 718-507-TIXX.
What do you get the person that loves to tailgate? How about a new tailgate?
This year, turn Black Friday into Buick Friday. Current eligible lessees get this low-mileage lease on this 2018 Buick Encore for around $169 per month. Or get this 2018 Buick Enclave for around $359 per month.
Got that new home edition and you're keeping it covered.
Ooh, coverages now. I can help with this. Got zone coverage, man coverage, combo coverages.
I don't know, Peyton. I think more like the coverage your nationwide agent offers.
Oh, you want to go there? Home, auto, life, business, farm, boat, RV, ATV, camper, pet, motorcycle, your tour bus. Right. Did I mention farm?
Time now for the editorial page, and the Mets are continuing their aggressive trade pursuit of Seattle second baseman Robinson Cano and closer Edwin Diaz. According to many major league sources, the sides are deep in talks. Andy Martino first reported that the Mets were aggressively pursuing Cano and Jordan Harper, as they reported that Cano would be willing to waive his no-trade clause. So, John, how much would Cano and Diaz help this Mets team?
I mean, yeah, we talked about it. As far as a win now in 2019, Cano is going to give you an upgrade offensively. He can be the number 3 hitter. He fits right in there. I know they could use maybe another right-handed bat, but he's still a middle-of-the-order bat. And then you add Diaz to the back end of that bullpen. This is a kid. I mean, listen, you never know. He pitched in Seattle. Not a lot of people saw him. Coming to New York is a different story, but he throws 98, 99 with a tremendous slider. He's got the kind of stuff that's I would think is going to be really good, especially as young as he is. You're not talking about one of these relievers in the 30s where you never know. So, yeah, I think it makes them much more of a contending team. They still need a catcher and maybe a center fielder, but you might even be able to add that. There's been talk about Malik Smith being added to this trade as well. So I think it definitely is a move. It kind of falls in Brodie Van Wagenen's lap because the Mariners are so desperate to get out of Cano's contract.
Yeah, I mean, I think they take a monumental step forward. I mean, it's two big needs, two big areas of need that would get resolved in one big trade. I mean, so they've been looking for a reliever, a closer. Obviously, Familia, who got sent to the Athletics last year. They've been looking for that kind of a guy, and Diaz steps into that role. And Harper basically told you the kind of stuff that he has, and he was dominant last year for the Seattle Mariners. And I think Robbie Cano, at 36 years of age, you put him back in this marketplace, you put him in the middle of that lineup, Maria, he is going to absolutely hit. I mean, he is going to hit a ton. I think he'd appreciate being back here. I think he'd resolve a lot of issues. I think you've seen him. And listen, you might look at diminished range defensively at second base. I think you'll deal with that because I don't think there's been much of an emphasis defensively for the Mets over the years. I think you throw Cano in the middle part of that lineup, he'd hit a ton. I think the Mets take a monumental step forward. I don't think they're a contender in the NL East yet. They have some other issues that they need to solve, but I think this would be a step in the right direction.
I can't disagree. Robinson Cano, with the suspension, actually probably will serve in his favor as far as he got some rest last year. So with his age, he can still perform and he can still hit. I think when you're talking about this deal, it comes down to how much of the Cano contract are each side going to be willing to take on. I actually quite agree with the idea that you brought up earlier in the program, Moose, about maybe the Mets be willing to pay more of the contract and give up fewer actual people. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I think the other key is unloading an overpaid player or two in the process, maybe a Jay Bruce. That would help the Mets a lot. So those are all the things that are swimming around in my head when it comes to this deal, which we don't know which way it's going to go, and it could go a number of different ways.
So it seems like a lot of everybody is, very faithful in Cano being able to produce even after that suspension, because we don't know how he'll be able to do in a full season. We saw, he batted over 300, those 80 games, but a full season after that PED suspension?
You know what? I think there's a little bit of a misconception still about the whole steroids thing now, or PEDs, what he was popped for. It's not this kind of stuff that Barry Bonds was using 20 years ago that transformed you into a different type of hitter. I think this stuff that they use now is more about recovery and being able to perform at a high level 162 games, but I don't think it necessarily changes you, makes you a dramatically different hitter. So I think maybe it takes a little bit out of him in terms of his ability to get through 162, but I don't think it changes the fact that the guy is a great hitter.
Well, he is. I mean, the Yankees had concerns about how he was going to age, right? So there were those reservations. That's why they didn't want to give him the 10-year contract that the Seattle Mariners gave him. So there was that fear about Robbie Cano. Now, I don't know exactly what Robbie Cano is going to be in year 4 or 5 of what's left on this contract. However, I do think Cano stepping into this situation with the Mets, I do think at 36, I think he can hit. I think he can flat out hit. And I think that swing fits. I think his approach fits. And I think him taking on the role here of stepping into an organization for the Mets after being a Yankee, I think he would use that as motivation as well. I think for a lot of different reasons it would work.
All right, so everybody's high on Robinson Cano being able to produce.
Yeah, a couple years anyway.
Yeah, a couple years. All right, he's going to be 40 in just a little bit. Still to come on the show, the Saints look like an absolute juggernaut this year behind Drew Brees. So how likely is it that the suddenly surging Cowboys can take down one of the best teams in the NFL? We'll break it down after the break.
When you need a shirt made just for you,
go custom. Because custom is comfort.
create a custom shirt that's uniquely yours with their expert stylists. You're gonna like the way you look in a custom shirt.
Hey guys, we're here at Catch in Astoria, Queens, the site of the Queens Baseball Convention, giving you the rundown of who and what will be here on January 19th, 2019. New York Mets greats Keith Hernandez, Edgardo Alfonso, and Ed Kranepool will be here doing panels and signing autographs. We also have more panels, vendors, mascots, and great food. Buy your tickets at queensbaseballconvention.com.
For tickets and info, go to queensbaseballconvention.com.
Okay, we got it. Let's go.
Go? Are you kidding? I need to stay. I want to be first in line.
Whatever your big job is, come into the Ram Black Friday sales event and get a great deal on the truck with the best resale value in the industry. And find out for yourself why more people are switching to Ram trucks than ever before. Because of all the things you've built this year, some are sweeter than others. Great deals going on all month at the Ram Black Friday sales event.
Or well-qualified lessees of competitive vehicles get a low-mileage lease on select 2019 Ram 1500 Classic models for $189 a month.
Sorry, but this new Dunkin' latte is too delicious to take away from my mouth. How's your day going, though?
New handcrafted medium cappuccinos and lattes for $2 from 2 to 6 p.m.
The Daily News, sports coverage for New York fans at nydailynews.com. All things New York sports, all on one site with easy access to up-to-the-minute news on all of your favorite New York area teams, only on SNY.TV.
Coming up on Loudmouth, John, if you were whining and dining Patrick Corbin in New York, where would you take him?
Papaya King.
Fair.
Lots of hot dogs. They got plenty of money for him, it seems. I mean, he's being wooed all over the East Coast. We'll talk about that and so much more right after you finish up with the guys in Maria, Chris.
All right, thanks, guys. Time now for Editor's Pick and a little Thursday night football. The Saints are 7.5-point favorites over the Cowboys in Dallas tonight. So, do you think the Cowboys have a shot in this game? Maria, I'll start with you.
Yeah, they have a shot. Their defense is playing better. What's interesting about New Orleans, we know how potent their offense is, but they have the #1 run defense in the league. So you wonder how Ezekiel Elliott is going to handle that. Cowboys are home, but they don't necessarily play great at home. But I don't know. I just have a feeling this one might be closer than we expect.
Yeah, I would take the Saints. 7.5. I mean, honestly, because I'm done doubting New Orleans. Everyone doubts New Orleans every single week. And I hate when guys talk trash going into a game, like you heard Lauren say, we're going to choke out Dallas, we're going to snuff them out. I hate when you get that kind of conversation because New Orleans doesn't need motivation.
Exactly.
They're just that dominant. So I would take the Saints. Listen, if it's close, it's close. I'll give the Cowboys credit, but I'll take New Orleans.
I wouldn't bet on the Cowboys, but I'll say this. Amari Cooper has changed the dynamic of their offense. He stretches the field. He's opened it up a little bit more for Ezekiel Elliott. I think they are going to put points on the board, so I just wouldn't put a whole lot of I wouldn't bet the house on it, put it that way.
Yeah. All right. It's been a great show for everybody.
Nice job, Chris.
Appreciate it.
Good job, Chris.
John Harper, Mark Malusis, Maria Marino. Out of time for DNL. See you next time.
They say less is more, but we believe more is more. That's why we built FanDuel Sportsbook with more ways to bet, more ways to fund your account, more ways to cash in, and more ways to cash out, with payouts delivered straight to your bank account in as little as 48 hours. You want more? You got it. Join today and get a risk-free bet worth up to $500. FanDuel Sportsbook, more ways to win.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Oh, what's going on?
Sorry, dude. You just got traded to apartment 3B. We traded you for 2 Swedish exchange students and a blender.
But we're waving the blender. Hey, you guys can't do that.
Wait. The deal fell through. You didn't pass your physical.
So no blender.
Sports Night, the only place where all New York sports live every night starting at 11 on SNY.
Get your new